How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 118 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, writer, actor, and director, Mr. Kyle Fine.
You think I look like a rat, huh? Huh. I take that as a compliment. Rats live in holes in walls, and they love cheese. I love cheese.
Second, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Mr.
Vroom, vroom.
Shit, you took mine.
Third,
I couldn't think of anything else.
you better think of something quick.
There was a quote from one of the movies that I really liked. I couldn't find it.
Third, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Mr. Timothy Haggis.
They say a wise man can learn more from his enemy than a fool can from his friends, and yet I still keep coming back here every month.
Nicely done.
Because you learn so much.
Do I?
Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Inc. Studios, Mr. Andrew Zumwalt.
It's Italian. Do you want one?
When he steals the stopwatch. Nice. Before we poke the monkey, I just want to comment a little bit on both films. No, I don't. We're going to just poke the monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, speed demons and adrenaline junkies, start your engine! Tonight, we speed into the new year with a couple of high-octane, pulse-pounding, car racing flicks. Which thrilling true-life story will take the checkered flag? And which one will crash and burn? In the first quarter, from 2019, written by Jez Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, and Jason Killer. Directed by James Mangold. Starring Matt Damon, Christian Bale, and Josh Lucas. Ford versus Ferrari. In the second quarter, from 2013, written by Peter Morgan, directed by Ron Howard, starring Chris Hemsworth, Daniel Brühl, and Olivia Wilde. Rush!
God, I am off the mark. Jesus Christ.
We're taking applications for a new host.
Exactly.
All you have to do is talk. The bar is really, really low.
It is super low.
Comment on any of your podcasting services. Let us know, because we'll pretty much take anybody right now.
We're pretty desperate.
We'll take a mute.
Sign language, we can make that work.
I've had a fascination with Carol Shelby for a very long time, and it all started back when I first saw Gone in 60 Seconds. course, it's a car movie, and I'm going to reference Gone in 60 Seconds, the Shelby GT 500. So my first time in Vegas, my wife and I actually went and toured the Shelby Museum. And there are so many cars. And at one point, she was pulling me away from a car because I wanted the car so bad. But you can actually see one of his cars that he used to take around to dealerships. And what he would do is he would take a yellow Mustang, Shelby Mustang, to a dealership, sell them on that car. And then to prove that he had more, he would hurry back and paint the car a different color, like green, and then take it back. Yeah, we got more of them. Yeah. Oh, you want to see a red one? Go back, paint it red. And on the show floor, they actually have it peeled back a little bit so you can see all the different layers of paint that were on that Mustang for when he was doing that. I find it fascinating. It's
That's
great.
amazing.
So, and I was lucky enough to see both these films in the theater. I love racing. I was super into it in the early 2000s, and still this day, I'll try and watch a Formula One race. And I've never really gotten into Le Mans. I usually will just check if it's going. I'll check on the internet and see how it's, watch like 10 minutes of it and log off and go do whatever and log back on, check it for another 10 minutes. But anyway, that's a long rambling way to say these movies are great, in my opinion, and I can't wait to hear what you guys say. So let's start with our first round, which is writing.
I have to agree with you, Mike. Both of these movies are really well-made movies. And that does all start with the writing. And I think this is going to be a tough decision in this category because like some of the other movies we've done in the past, these are actually based on real people and real events. So that might be one of the criteria that we use to kind of evaluate the writing. And then, I think they both really do a great job of building their characters. But that I think will balance against how that compares to the actual stories and the characters. And Mike, you may actually have some input in this round when it comes to like how Carroll Shelby was characterized in Ford v Ferrari.
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know. But I think that's important when we're evaluating these two movies is looking at the real life events and the real life people and comparing them to how they're portrayed on film. And honestly, I'm not an expert in the real life events of either of these films. But I did do a small amount of research. And one of the things, I really do like the writing in these, but I'm going to get punny here. And I'm going to say that a lot of the events and a lot of the things that happened in Rush were rushed. I felt like we really were rushed through that story. And it's not a short movie. I mean, it's right at about 2 hours long. But I do feel like we kind of got rushed through a lot of things. We got rushed through a lot of the races and those kinds of things. It sounds like they, even in order to make things either more dramatic or save a little bit of time, they kind of combined characters and events just to kind of save time. And so it's really kind of interesting to see that. Although I thought the characters were well done. Some of the dialogue was really great in Rush, but I do feel like some of the exposition was a little bit kind of like telling you what's happening instead of showing you what's happening. But again, that might be because they had to get so much in such a little amount of time. They just had to tell you, this is what's happening, But I did feel like some of it was kind of like telling us, okay, Niki Lauda's in the lead and that kind of stuff, It's like, well, you can show us that. We can tell that he's in the lead, that kind of thing. And those are minor criticisms, by the way. I really enjoyed the writing in Ford v Ferrari as well. I thought that the characters were really well developed, and I felt like that movie was more about building those characters than the actual racing itself. Although there was plenty of racing in it, I thought they did a really good job of like bringing out those characters. Now, how they compare to the real life individuals, I can't say for sure on those. I do feel like in Rush they kind of exaggerated the bitterness of that relationship. I don't think they hated each other as much as they made it sound in the movie. And maybe they did that in Ford v Ferrari as well. I don't know. Do you guys have any other like thoughts on those things?
I'll just say real quick that Niki Lauda, when he first saw Rush, he said, "Shit, that's really me."
Oh, really?
Yes.
They thought he thought he saw himself in that.
Yes.
And
in that portrayal.
Yes.
And I've seen stuff where he talks about how it was a love-hate relationship that they actually had together, and they were quite strong towards each other, even though underneath they both knew it's kind of like they were giving each other the business, but they meant it at the same time. So they actually had a relationship that was probably as similar as you could see on screen, I would bet. I was just going to say that, yeah, it's really hard to write true stories because you don't know everything that happened. You only have word of mouth or interviews or side clips or things that were potentially happened that you're stretching the truth a little bit to make it cinematic, right? But I have to say that some of the dialogue, I would say most of the dialogue in Rush is very well done and it moves the story along, and I enjoyed it. But I really enjoy the dialogue in Ford versus Ferrari. I laughed. The quips were hilarious. I don't know how much of it is true. I don't know if they actually said some of those things, but damn, there are some really funny moments in Ford v Ferrari, hands down, just from their dialogue.
Absolutely.
But both movies, you know, we've talked about this before, writing a true story based on a true story from real life people to be based on real life people to make it cinematic. I can't even imagine how difficult that is, because if you're just trying to write a story that involves those characters and you just go off on a whim, great. But both of these movies attempted to capture the essence of these people in American and, you know, world history that have enlightened the human race. And so I think this would be very difficult because they did a really good job.
Well, and it's especially difficult because, I mean, you know, James Mangold and Ron Howard must have had some kind of passion for this topic. Anytime you do a movie like that, you're not going to do a movie and just be like, I really don't give two fucks about these people and their real lives. You know, they want to be genuine to it, but then you're also, you know, because I mean they're basically a fan of the topic, but at the same time they are trying to make a movie to sell to people that don't know shit about car races. Like, how do you? Right. You're like, so we're making this for the fans and the people that grew up with, you know, Ken Miles and James Hunt. But at the same time, how do you dumb it down to people who have no idea what's going on? So, and I think both of these movies do a really good job balancing out the two. And it's funny what you said, Gabe, because I felt that feeling during Ford versus Ferrari. There were a couple of times where I felt that they were dumbing it down a little bit too much, where it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, we know, we're just, I mean, that's kind of common sense, but, and for the life of me, I can't remember specifically which scenes, but yeah, there's I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah. And I remember having that feeling about kind of dumbing stuff down so that people who don't understand can still get something from it, with Casino Royale and all the scenes where they're playing cards. There are all these scenes where the characters are talking about, oh, if he gets this, it's a royal flush and that kind of stuff, you know. And I thought, I'm not even a card player, really. And you don't have to tell me that. It makes me feel like you're kind of like condescending to me a little bit. That didn't take away from my enjoyment of that movie. I love that movie. But it's true. I think sometimes you have to, that there is a balance there. You know, you want to make this accessible to as many viewers as possible without kind of insulting the subject matter at the same time. And I think both these movies do indeed find that balance.
Well, and you know, a lot of times when you're writing a story, you're looking for that character arc, and then you either have that Hollywood happy ending and moral, and these actually happened in real life and equated out to have their own morals and their own real, like, there's a message, but it wasn't like Ron Howard sat down and went, okay, so we're going to end it like this to make it so all the like, this is how it happened. And that, to me, the fact that they didn't try to make it happy per se to resolve everything, they just left it. Because a lot of based on true story type things, they don't let it just run. Sometimes they alter a little bit to make people happy. And they didn't do that with either one of these movies. They just let it roll. And I appreciated that as well.
Yeah, it's important to do that, especially when you're dealing with a real story with real people involved.
Absolutely.
I always kind of feel a bit, I don't want to say odd, but I question sometimes talking about the writing on things that are based on true stories, because you have to make so many judicious decisions about what you include and what you don't include that it very often doesn't actually mimic real life. Real life can be much more boring and mundane in some places, and you're trying to make an entertaining movie.
2 minutes.
So, okay. So, I think both movies did a pretty good job of choosing what to include and what to focus on. But as far as which one I think was written better, it's a tough decision. I found these movies very similar to me in a way, but I'll go for a racing analogy. I'll talk about pace, right? So we look at these movies. One is 2 hours. One is 2 hours and 30 minutes. But which one felt longer to me as I'm sitting and watching it? And to me, Rush felt longer than Ford versus Ferrari. I thought Ford versus Ferrari kept a good pace, kept things moving along, and kept me hooked and interested. And I think that's a lot of what a good story should do, is keep you glued to the screen and make you forget you're watching a movie. And I think Ford v Ferrari held my attention a little bit better. And I think a lot of that comes down to the writing. Of course, some of that definitely comes down to the performances too, and we'll get into that in acting. But yeah, Rush just felt a little, I don't want to say bloated, but a little long to me.
But is part of that because Ford v Ferrari was definitely, I mean, I think Gabe may have even touched on it at the very beginning when he was talking that Rush, it's a car racing movie, but there didn't feel like there was a lot of car racing. Like they just showed the beginning of a race and then they're like, okay, this guy won, next.
Yeah, literally one race is just a splash that says who came in first.
Right.
That's how they cover one whole race.
And for
but hang on.
Oh, what? I wasn't saying it was a bad thing.
But the difference is that Ford v Ferrari was really about like this race. It really was about getting to Le Mans and winning Le Mans. And the story behind Rush really was the entire season. And
the whole circuit.
And Nicky pulling ahead and the race was the season. So, I mean, I don't really know if it's fair to say, oh, Rush, they just ran through the races. Well, they had a lot more races to get through. And the movie's really more about their personal relationship, whereas Ford v Ferrari really is the competition between the two companies.
And that's where I was going. Absolutely, is just I thought there was more car action. It may have seemed like it paced better because there was just more in the car action that you saw in Ford v Ferrari versus Rush. I'm not saying this is a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. It was just I was alluding to Kyle saying that he felt Rush was maybe a bit slower. Was there potentially wasn't as much car action as there was in Ford v Ferrari. Grantedly so, because they are based on two different situations.
All right, that's time.
That's possible.
It's time.
Right.
Let's put it to a vote. Gabe?
No.
Yeah, this is a tough one. These are two really great movies, and they're both really well written. I think I'm going to go Ford v Ferrari on this one.
All right. Kyle?
Ford v Ferrari.
Okay. Andrew?
For dialogue, Ford v Ferrari.
And Tom?
Rush.
Okay.
Always one.
Peter Morgan. Good God Almighty! I need to drink more scotch. Peter Morgan wrote the script of
Applications.
Rush
We're taking applications down.
2013 on spec or speculation, meaning there was no one waiting to buy it. So he wrote the first draft, assuming there might not even be any racing sequences at all, because the perspective film would probably have a very low budget. If you grow up in England, that's how you think, he said. Instead, he structured the film as a race of sorts between the two main characters. The film, Ford versus Ferrari, was stuck in developmental hell for a long time. Director James Mangold became interested in making it as far back as 2010 and would periodically check in with the 20th Century Fox to inquire if the project was available. It wasn't until after he made Logan that he was brought on board to direct the film. He and the screenwriters decided to focus on the story of Shelby and Miles instead of the ensemble of the previous drafts. After managing to get the required budget below $100 million, Mangold finally received the green light from Fox.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and you always wonder, when you hear something like that, you always wonder, like, why did they wait so long to make such a good movie? And is it only good because they waited so long?
Right.
Did it take that long to really hone it to what it become? It had become.
Correct.
I don't know. It's interesting to hear that stuff.
All right.
Yeah, time plays an interesting part in filmmaking and writing in general. That's a deep philosophical conversation we can have some other time.
But we've had other movies that we know that we've said, even in our comments, that, if this would have been released, 5 years later, it would have been way bigger than it is.
Oh, yeah.
Vice versa.
Oh, for sure.
So it may have been a godsend that it didn't get made when he wanted it to.
That's
right. Right. The social context or whatever was right at the
zeitgeist.
Yeah,
I would be these two movies. These two movies have so much overlap. I'd be curious to know that because Rush was a $36 million budget, but only made back 26 at the box office, and I would be really interested to know if the I hate saying the word failure, but the failure of Rush to do better didn't have an impact on Ford v Ferrari getting shelved because of the overlap of the topic. Because there's maybe people don't like these Italian racing movies with Enzo Ferrari in the background. So,
right,
yeah,
that's possible.
Yep, very good point. All right,
thank you.
Second round.
He's out.
Acting.
You cede my time. Acting. That's me, right?
That's you, Kyle.
Gabe got a kick out of that. Does Gabe know the rest of that quote? Is that why he's laughing?
Oh, I don't know if I know the rest of that.
Oh, I see. Never mind. Google. I cede my time, and it's from someone talking at a. I believe it's like one of those town hall meetings.
Yeah.
The tensions get up, and someone says, "I cede my time. Suck my dick. Fuck you. Goodbye." It's pretty great. But anyways, so now that I've ruined the explicit tag for this episode, it's always me, isn't it? Acting. Boy, howdy. Okay, so this one to me, I don't want to play any spoilers, but there's one movie that I think has much better acting than the other. But I will say, as far as, let's just start with Rush. So I personally am a big fan of Daniel Bruhl. I really like Daniel Bruhl. And Chris Hemsworth, I hope that's the right one. Is that the right one?
You are correct, sir.
All right. Look at that. I knew his name was Chris because there's too many handsome blonde Chris's. So I was thinking that must be his name. I think they
handsome
play
Hemsworths.
handsome Hemsworth. I think one of them's a little ugly, but we won't get into that. See if you can guess. But
Next
I
on
think they do
Hemsworth
very
Smack.
well. The Hemsworth Smack. That's right. Talk shit about this this line of gods with impressive genetics who are all millionaires. Let's talk shit about them. Anyways, I think Daniel Bruhl and Chris Hemsworth do a really good job playing off each other. They're very antagonistic towards each other, although I think it's given much more one way than the other. Chris Hemsworth is much more antagonistic of Niki Lauda than vice versa, whereas I feel like Lauda is just more of a defensive character and is kind of reasonable despite the fact that he does what I think is an unreasonable job. It's pretty fucking insane to race Formula One cars, in my opinion. But I think they're a very nice play off of each other, and it has a good ensemble cast. Olivia Wilde, Natalie Dormer. There's a lot of other people in the movie that I think are just fine in their roles. But when you get to Ford v Ferrari, I think you see what the difference, like really top tier acting, can do to change your film, and how it can keep people engaged and interested in what's happening, even when the thing that might be happening is something as, I would say, uninteresting as someone working on a car while listening to a race on the radio. They can still keep you glued to the screen just because they have a charisma. You care about them. You care about their characters and what they're going through. And to me, Ford v Ferrari with the two leads, Matt Damon and Christian Bale, I think is just excellent and outpaces Rush in the acting category. And I had this conversation too, and before I cede my time, I'll ask, has anybody ever seen a movie where you saw Christian Bale in it and thought he did a terrible job in this movie? It's possible, but me personally, I've never seen Christian Bale give a bad performance, even in movies that I didn't think were great.
Empire of the Sun. Empire of the Sun. He was total shit in that.
I've never seen Empire of the Sun.
You've never seen
Empire of the Sun?
That was like his first one, right?
He's a
just-
kid.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Just shit on
stunning.
him.
He's pretty. He's a little kid.
Is he
Fuck him.
good?
He's amazing.
But he gained like 300 pounds for the role when he was a little kid.
I know, and that's another thing that I was going to mention about this one is it's Christian Bale like changing weight again, because he was pretty slim in Ford v Ferrari.
He was, he is.
He's insane.
He's a master of his own body. He really is someone who gets into a role like that, and that's something I think is so rare. I think his commitment to his craft is so rare. Not saying there aren't a lot of committed actors, but it's on another level, and I think it comes through in his performances. I really believe him in everything I see him in, even if it's like a sci-fi movie, like whatever it was, Terminator Salvation, which wasn't good, but I like Christian Bale in everything I've seen him in. And I just think he's such a top tier actor in terms of quality and charisma and keeping you glued to the screen and the story. I think he's great at it. And Matt Damon is great too. And you give him this role as Carroll Shelby, who I don't know if some of his lines are ad-libbed or not, but I feel like you could give a guy like Matt Damon, like you have a Southern accent, just make up some Southern, sayings, just say some things like that. And he'd be really good at it. I think he does a great job as well. And then you have a lot of the ensemble cast as well. John Barenthal is Lee Iacocca, and Josh Lucas is in it. I can't remember his name. And when we were talking about the movie, he's such a hateable character. Beebe, his last name's Beebe.
Yeah.
He's so hateable. He's a hate sink, right? The whole audience is supposed to go, boo, boo this man.
Right.
But he's really good at it. And to me, that's a sign of a good actor, is when you put him in a role and you just go, I fucking hate Josh Lucas and his smarmy little face and his shitty way he talks and all that. And you just go, yeah, he's really good at it. But we were talking about, I said, man, I know the name Lee Iacocca, but I've never heard of this BB guy. And then I thought maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe the way this movie pans out is going to tell me why Lee Iacocca stayed, famous in American culture and this other guy kind of faded to obscurity. But yeah, okay. So I'll give some time to you guys, but that's what I thought. I thought both movies were acted well, but I think one is ahead of the other.
I'm just going to say that my comparison to your Christian Bale is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we don't talk enough about Christian Bale as a Daniel Day-Lewis level type of of actor.
They become
and I don't want
the
to
character.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to turn this into fawning over Christian Bale, but he really amazed me, and always does. He's just such a joy to watch.
I think it's interesting they continue to make Australians play English characters. And the other thing I noticed was Daniel Bruhl. Did anybody get Christopher Reeve vibes from him? There were shots. He looks just like Christopher Reeve.
He's got a Christopher. He would be great in a Christopher Reeves biopic.
Yes, like from a distance, like I was like, whoa, he's like Christopher Reeve.
I feel like
I agree with you on that.
He's one of those actors. Every time I see him, I'm just like, why is he not bigger? Like, is he not getting the roles?
Yes.
Or that I'm just like, he's just, you can just see so much talent kind of boiling underneath the surface there. And, you know, the one thing I'll say about the two movies is that I don't want to say that Daniel Bruhl plays the villain, but he does kind of plays the foil to the, you know, Western, you know, English American kind of, you know, I don't know how to say this, but they really kind of flesh it out. One of the things that really annoys me about Ford v Ferrari is the Italian driver that they have is like such a villain archetype ripped out of Speed Racer that I'm just like, I swear that some of the shots were taken actually from the Wachowski Speed Racer movie. And I'm just like
twirling his mustache.
I was like, is he eating spaghetti and driving at the same time? This is so,
It was
expecting him to throw nails on the road.
It was Wario.
Ethnic stereotype
machine. That's terrible. You're absolutely right about that. The antagonist in the end race is so paper thin. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I get that antagonist is really, you know, the heads, you know, it's BB is really the antagonist, and you need to keep the other guy out of the way. But I think they did such a better job of it in Rush of kind of developing those peripheral characters. Why was Don Beebe such an asshole? You know, they don't really get into that when Ford v Ferrari, but I don't know. Maybe it should have been 3 hours.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with Kyle. I think, again, you know, like the writing, I think the acting is really great in both of these movies. I think it's really well done. And, you know, you think of somebody like Chris Hemsworth as just kind of like this, you know, pretty boy who does the superhero movies. You know, that's kind of what you think of him as. But I really did like his acting in this, and I think it shows that he has skill and range to do other things. Because, you know, I think I don't know, these superhero movies. Maybe he'll play Captain America until he dies. I don't know, or not Captain America. What I'm saying, Thor until he dies. You know, but it's nice to know that maybe he has something to fall back on too. You know, he actually has some acting skill. And I was a little bit, I was impressed, actually. I was a little bit surprised. But there is this certain type of charisma that Matt Damon and Christian Bale have in Ford v Ferrari that's kind of undeniable. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that comes from. And Matt Damon just seems like a likable person in every role that he's in. There's just something, I don't know, charismatic about him. You like to watch him on screen, and you feel like he's genuine. You somehow, in a way, trust him. Like, you know, he is genuine in this character. And I don't know if that's you know, what makes one person screen worthy and another one not so much. You know, some people, it's like you put them in front of a camera and they just light it up, and they don't even really have to try that hard. And others, you know, it's like they can be great actors, but you put them in front of the camera and it just isn't kind to them. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that comes from. Some people are just lucky, maybe. I don't know. But Matt Damon and Christian Bale have that, and they really are engaging on the screen. So
Well, it's a good thing Matt Damon has that, because we're not going to spend trillions of dollars saving him in World War II or on Mars or wherever the hell he gets stuck.
Right.
You know, we're not going to do that if he's an asshole. So.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
and
true.
Actually, when I first saw about Ford v Ferrari, I was like, Matt Damon and Christian Bale, what a weird combination. And it really, really worked. And not just because of their acting abilities, but because the characters were so almost polar opposites of each other and how they were, and yet they were the same at the same time. It was just really weird, but perfectly picked. They made it was a great buddy film in a sense between those two. And the same goes, I would say that they played off of each other really well. What we've said before, Chris and Daniel both played off of each other well. And you really felt there was a lot of tension and yet some, I guess, recognition for each other in their craft, even though, you know, Daniel wanted to be more like Chris, Nicky wanted to be more like James, but James wanted to be more like Nicky at the same time. And I thought that came across really well with those two actors.
All right, that's time. Let's put it to a vote. Kyle.
I'm going to go with Ford v Ferrari.
All right. Andrew.
I'm also going to go with Ford v Ferrari.
Tom.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. So Ford v Ferrari.
All right. Gabe.
Can we get to? I just want to get to the next topic. Let's go. Next round.
I think you know what my vote's going to be.
Yep.
Ford v Ferrari.
No.
I thought you were going to vote for Cars.
Cars. They're charismatic too.
Lightning McQueen
They have a lot of personality as well.
Real quick, Christian Bale and Chris Hemsworth both lost 30 pounds to play their respective roles.
Well, it's always the last place you saw it.
I believe it.
Christian Bale was originally set to play Enzo Ferrari in Michael Mann's Enzo Ferrari, but dropped out due to concerns he had regarding getting the proper weight in time for the movie. Mann replaced him with Hugh Jackman. Although both have acted in super...
I didn't know there was a Ferrari movie.
I don't remember this. I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah.
Although both have acted in superhero movies involving the Avengers, Hemsworth and Brule haven't yet acted together in the same one. The character Thor, repeatedly played by Chris Hemsworth, 2008 onwards, Marvel Cinematic Universe, was one of the only two members of the Avengers absent during the events of Captain America Civil War, in which Daniel Brühl featured as the Avengers antagonist, Baron Zemo. All right. Here you go, Tom. Third round. Directing.
Hell yeah. I think I'm doing overall, though, so.
Yeah, it's me.
It's all yours. Go ahead. Hurry up. Talk. I got shit to say.
Wow. All right. Well,
Tom isn't listening. He's waiting to talk.
Some of my really big points with directing go into some of the cinematography for both of these movies are beautiful. I would say I've never done a car chase on the way that some of the Hollywood people do. And I don't even know how to pull off some of the F1 car race that they did, and the way that they shot it, and the way that they were in the action. And I know there's probably a lot of, I don't know, maybe there's CG involved, but damn, it made it look super exciting, super dangerous, and you felt like you were there. And it goes the same with Ford v Ferrari. There are shots that are just insane, and I'm sure there's movie magic involved to keep people safe and everything else, but man, they just pulled off some really cool looking shots. However they got them done, they were very, very neat. So as it goes with traditional just directing in general, I felt that they both pulled off really good with keeping in line with that buddy film kind of thing where you have your two people, they're working together, they're not working together, they're fighting with each other, et cetera, et cetera. But I really, really enjoyed a lot of the scenes in Ford v Ferrari where they were at each other's ends and they wouldn't move the camera at all. And you just had these moments where there was a situation going on and there was no camera. It was just like you were standing there watching them. And I thought that was pretty cool. I know he's going to explode. So Tom, I don't want to take a lot of time because I've got more, but I want you to have your chance. So
I'm this, look, I voted for Ford v Ferrari. I give it that, but there's no way that directing was better in Ford v Ferrari than it was in Rush. The directing, and it's weird because I feel weird saying this, but it's the most un-Ron Howard movie I think I've seen. So like the first time I saw it,
I know what you're saying.
When the first time I saw it, I got to the end. I was like, oh, it's just kind of, it all kind of adds happy and ending and, arms around each other kind of thing. And that's what Ron Howard movies could generally end as. They, you walk out of the theater feeling generally pretty good about things. But in the second viewing, I'm just like, look, Ron, don't take any offense to this. I could not picture Ron Howard on the set making these calls and choosing these shots to tell the story. And it's absolutely just it just blows me away because I just there's just some shots where I'm just like, how did they even get that? And I sent it to Mike. So there's a really great article on the American Cinematographers site that has an interview with Anthony Dodd Mantle, the cinematographer, and he kind of goes through how they did a lot of these shots and the challenges they had. And it's amazing how much like work and detail they went into. And they started with the vintage footage, the archival footage, and then they're like, all right, so we have this archival footage, we want to use it, but we need our stuff to match it. And then they used like the colors in the cities that they were in to like use the palette when they started shooting, and then when they went to color time things, and it is absolutely amazing. And Rush is one of those movies. There's, I think, 3 movies that people are like, when they ask me like, what is cinematography? And I'm like, if you want to see like the power of cinematography, you need to watch The Color Purple. You need to watch The Assassination of Jesse James, and you need to watch Rush. Like the cinematography in those 3 movies are, every shot in Rush is like a painting. It is absolutely it's absolutely beautiful. So I am a huge Anthony Dodd Mantle fanboy. I love his stuff so much. He's generally Danny Boyle's cinematographer, and everybody knows how much I love Danny Boyle.
There it is. There it is.
How long did I make it before I mentioned Danny Boyle?
I mentioned Gone in 60 Seconds. You mentioned Danny Boyle. We got it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Who wins the $5?
We got to call it. At what point in the episode did Tom mention Danny Boyle?
Yeah, I'm shameless. I'm absolutely shameless. Anyway, I am a huge Anthony Dodd Mantle fan. He's the man. I just love his stuff. And it's all on display here in Rush. It's beautiful, and at the same time, it's just ingenious, and it puts you in places that Ford v Ferrari just doesn't take you. So the editing in Rush makes my mind hurt as an editor. Like I watch all the footage they must have to put together, and it just makes me want to throw up. Okay.
And I agree. There are just moments inside of Ford v Ferrari that I truly just loved. It's when Carroll Shelby drives around Henry Ford and scares the bejeebers at him. That entire scene is so well shot and so fun to watch. The fight that Shelby and Ken have outside of his house when Shelby tries to come and apologize and he drops all the groceries and his wife comes out and puts out a lawn chair and she's like, you want something to drink? And he's like, yeah, but none for him. None for him. Like that entire scene is so well blocked and so well shot. It is so fun to watch. There are moments like that inside of Ford v Ferrari that just really bring an impact. But I agree. That's why I said I don't know how they did some of the racing stuff obviously there's movie magic behind it, but man, they did some just unbelievable stuff at speeds and the shots of some of those cars. And I mean, I can't even storyboard something like that. So, I get it.
I think one of my favorite shots in either of the movies is when Niki Lauda is trying to put on the helmet after he's had his accident. And there's that shot where it slides on and you're almost inside the helmet. Yeah. And you get this super duper close up. And I was like, oh, that is really cool.
And his wife comes in and he says, don't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Once he finally succeeds and gets that helmet on, there's like this super close up of his eye and his face. And I'm like, oh, how did they get that? That is a really cool shot.
But throughout the movie, they did that multiple times where it's like inside their, like, it looks like they put a camera on their freaking bridge of their nose because it's like inside their visor. And
I got
like that one shot right as it starts raining and it's starting to fog over and you can kind of see down the road. And Niki Lauda is real slow at taking off because you can barely see and you see the thunder. And I mean, oh my God.
It is.
Like,
it's stunning.
I've got trivia for that. So keep going.
All right.
So move on from that. Don't take Mike's trivia.
That line that Nikki says to his wife is like, I know what you're thinking. If you love me, you won't say anything. I used that on my wife last week. She caught me making a pizza at 2:00 in the morning, eating it all by myself.
How did that work out for you?
It worked.
He got burned. He got severe burns on his face.
Oh.
So yours was the reverse. You weren't burned yet.
No. His tongue is just mangled.
Not recovered.
Yeah, I just laid there and opened my mouth like Niki Lauda. More.
When they shoved
she had to vacuum his lungs.
I was gonna say when they vacuum his lungs, I was just like, wow,
that's hardcore.
Yeah.
I remember Mike telling me about that scene and going, what? They did what in this movie?
That's where I actually had trouble breathing in the theater. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can see why.
I mean, nowadays they would sedate you to do something like that, but geez, I just watching it, I was just like, oh.
They didn't even give him any like what's the spray if you have a sore throat and you spray it in the back of your throat?
Banaka.
Or whatever. They didn't even give him any.
The antiseptic spray.
Chloroseptic.
Chloroseptic. Yeah, it's an antiseptic spray to help numb. But I mean, like I said, in today, you would never do that awake like that. You would be mostly sedated for something like that. So
and who knows? How much of that is a stretch of reality for dramatic purposes as well.
It was the 70s. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
They did it to disco music.
2 minutes, but Kyle, you get an extra minute.
I just wanted to say, I wanted to give James Mangold a little bit of love. Because he's emerging as one of my favorite newer directors. He's made some movies that I really enjoy, and I think he's a really smart director and makes a lot of good choices. I think some of you guys probably enjoyed Logan. And I kind of really enjoy Night and Day. And I don't know if you guys are going to give me trouble for that or not. But I really kind of enjoy it. I find it very entertaining.
It is entertaining.
And kind of lighthearted, but also like action-packed, and I really think it's a well-done movie. His 3:10 to Yuma, which I think we discussed.
I was going to say he did 3:10 to Yuma, guys.
That's pretty good too, and another good Christian
Indiana Jones movie.
What's that?
He's going to do the new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, I saw that just today. That he's listed.
I saw that when I looked it up too.
Well, we'll see. Well, that could be a make or break for me because I'm such a fan of the Indiana Jones franchise, at least some of it. But I just wanted to give him a little bit of love too because I think he's a really talented director, and he's made some movies that I really enjoy, and and some of them I think he's taken some risks with. I think something like Logan is a little bit risky, to show a beloved superhero character in that state and, see them off in that way that's a bit risky. That could turn some people away, but I think he handled it quite well. So I don't know,
Logan.
What's that?
I love Logan. I'm a big fan of that movie.
Yeah, and it's pretty dark and pretty gritty. Yeah.
That's what's great about rated R. That's what's great about rated R superhero movies, though.
Yeah, yes, I agree. And I don't know why studios haven't realized that they should be doing a few more of them. They get stuff like Deadpool, and you're like, this is fantastic. This is what we really want. You're pandering to these 13-year-olds when you should really be pandering to the people who have the money and want to see these things,
Because the 13-year-olds are going to go see it regardless.
Yeah, they'll be peer pressured into it, and they'll take their parents' money to go see it.
Okay,
but
40-year-old nerds have disposable income.
Yes,
I'm all for whatever rating's going to give you the better story, but I can't really argue with what Marvel has done in the last 11 years. I mean, they put together a pretty incredible story arc and kept everything PG, PG-13.
No,
so,
but I feel like there should be a place.
There should be a place. I agree. There should be a place. And I love Deadpool. I think it's absolutely hysterical. I'll never let my kids watch it. But even when they're 30, I'll be like, no.
Okay, guys,
you watch Dark Knight Rises with the Joker and everything, and that is a dark movie, and that is what people want.
All right.
And it was really obvious.
It's time.
We're not even talking about these movies anymore.
Well, we're talking about, it's related. We were talking about the directors.
All right. Let's put it to a vote. Andrew.
I'm going with Rush on this one.
All right. Tom? I already
Rush.
know.
Yeah, you're good.
Gabe?
Like I said, I'm kind of a fan of James Mangold, but I think, and in the past, I kind of haven't been a fan of Ron Howard, but I think Tom was right. I'm going to go. This is the most non-Ron Howard movie I've seen, and it was really well done. He gets my vote.
Kyle.
Yeah, I hardly got to say anything this round. It's totally fine because I agreed with about everything you guys said. But yeah, I'm going to vote for Rush.
All right.
Wait, so did Gabe? Did you vote for Tom or did you vote for Ron Howard?
Yes. Tom gets my vote.
Kyle, real quick, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think you guys did a great job. Some of the shots in Rush were just stunning. I mean, the shot choices, the camera movement, the way everything is framed and blocked, the action. I mean, it's great. It's really enjoyable to watch. Ford v Ferrari was a very well directed movie as well, but I think Rush stands out because of its cinematography.
All right. Yeah, you brought up the whole lung suctioning thing. I actually broke out in a cold sweat and I had to walk out of the theater because that bothered me so much. Yes. Like it just hit me and I had a flop sweat and I couldn't breathe. Like I was taking in deep breaths and Amanda's like, you okay? I'm like, I got to go walk.
Yeah, they do really it with plastic tubes now. They don't do a big steel rod down your throat.
Yeah. So in Rush, Dodd Mandel created a language and lensing for personifying the cars, putting us right inside with these fearless drivers racing 9 inches above the ground at great speeds. He mounted very small helmet cams 2 to 3 centimeters from their eyes. That's how they did it. I wanted the audience to know what it means to put a helmet on and shut the world off. And when they're racing, what it's like inside the helmet looking out. And after an injury, when they pull that helmet back, you really feel the pain. So I read that article that Tom sent me, and it was just fascinating. So if you guys get a chance, go out there and read about how they brought and I agree with you guys, some of the best cinematography for a racing film. A racing film also for a film. I mean,
so they
it's
put
great.
Cameras inside the helmet?
Yes.
How they had to have been just super duper
Tiny.
small.
Yeah, they were super
Really
small cameras.
One thing I noticed.
Resolution, though.
One thing I noticed was some of the shots from the car. I thought I saw like the shutter, the fluttering.
Yeah, there was some fluttering.
And I was a little bit surprised that they left those shots in where there was a little bit of fluttering. I mean, you could excuse it by being it's attached to a super powered car and it's vibrating, but there was definitely this kind of like, I forget what the technical term for that
Are you
is,
talking
too.
about the shutter? Like the
What's
shutter
that?
wobble? A shutter wobble?
Yeah, where especially
well,
like vertical
that's
lines
because
would kind of get wavy on you.
That's because of the vibrations of the vehicle, right? Like it's going so fast,
and I wondered if it was also a result of the cameras, partly
it could
the
be
cameras they were using.
Well, and also
some of it must have been digital.
He also stated too that they actually used a lot of lenses from the 60s and 70s. Like he went out and found a bunch of the lensing from the 60s and 70s.
Makes sense.
In order to
That's
recreate
really cool.
In order to recreate the Le Mans circuit in Ford versus Ferrari as it existed in the 60s, the scenes taking place on the racetrack had to be shot in 5 different locations for Ford versus Ferrari. This provided a challenge in terms of continuity, as not only the cars had to be correctly placed for each shot, but the weather had to be consistent as well. VFX was critical in fixing a variety of continuity issues, some of which were as simple as adjusting clocks to the right time.
Well, you'd have to worry about like which direction you were shooting and where the sun and the every lights and I can't even imagine a shot schedule.
Just imagine the script supervisor. Imagine the scriptie sitting there going,
Well, imagine having. So there's one conversation that on page would take, 2-3 minutes, but it actually takes you 3 months to shoot that 2 minutes of film because you actually have to jump to 6 different locations to be able to get all the shots that you need.
Right.
That's insane.
Yep.
I have trouble shooting continuity when like at a wedding people are seeing each other for the first time and it's like 60 seconds in front of the same tree. And I'm just like,
well, even like a short film or something where you like move the camera maybe twice because you just don't have time or you don't really want to deal with it.
Right.
You worry about continuity, a glass or any like holy cow.
Yep. It's pretty crazy. All right, let's move on to our 4th and final round overall.
I don't know if there's a whole lot left to be said here. I think the legacy of these two films will be interesting to watch 20 years from now. I think people will generally favor Ford v Ferrari over Rush, and I think part of that's going to do with the fact that it did a lot better at the box office. It was considered a hit, and it was nominated for a bunch of Oscars where Rush wasn't for some dumb fucking reason. And I'll be in doing some of the research and stuff after the fact. It seems like the people's opinion of Rush that people really genuinely like it. It's been trouble. They've been having trouble getting it in front of people's eyeballs. And that maybe that's with the problem with the leads, that Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl weren't as big of stars back then because this was right after Thor, right before the Avengers movie. So as people go digging into Chris Hemsworth's filmography, they're starting to find it, and people generally seem to like it. And it's on IMDb, the people that have seen it like it as much as they do Ford v Ferrari. The one thing we didn't talk about the music too much. I do really like the score on Ford v Ferrari, probably more than the score for Rush. But there's also that I'm not a huge Hans Zimmer fan, so that might be it. Not that it wasn't horrible, but I don't know what else overall. I guess the other question we talked about is repeatability. So which ones of these would we watch more often? personally, I'd probably watch Rush more often because, again, it goes back to that cinematography thing. Even when nothing's really happening in the movie, it's just gorgeous to look at. Plus, my wife. So when I sat down last night, I was like, I got to watch these two movies before tomorrow night. And I said, so go ahead and pick which one do you want to watch. And she's like, well, I'd rather watch the one with Chris Hemsworth ass in it. And I was like, that's cool. So we watched. She got a peek at Asgard's ass. Let's see, Asgard. Anyway, so that's anything else? What do you got?
I just wanted to share a little bit of information I found about the real life guys from Rush. So Niki Lauda and James Hunt. There's an article where they interview some other Formula One racers who were in that race, where I think the final one, in Japan, where it was raining and Lauda retired or whatever they call it. And they're interviewing these guys about this race, and they were all like, yeah, they should have stopped it, but once they started it, we're going. And then it says that Nikki and James were similar in one way. They both liked to fuck a lot, but Nikki would have been much more selective. And I thought that's kind of funny because they kind of hint at that a little bit, but it's mostly on James' side. And then it says there are stories of James sleeping with 33 British Airways air hostesses in this hotel in Tokyo earlier in the week.
At the same time.
Who knows? Maybe
that's one
maybe
hell of a
layover if you do a few at a time.
Oh,
yeah. And then these guys are thinking that it was a bit exaggerated. They're like, why were they all from British Airways? And even for James, if you're shagging yourself to death, you ain't going to be able to drive a racing car. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I thought that's one thing that they kind of left out, the story. But although they hint at it, obviously, a lot with James is that he has a lot of fun with the ladies. And that kind of thing.
I know is what they taught me is that Mr. Hunt raced better after getting laid. So sex actually makes you better.
It could, yeah. Sex is a performance enhancing activity.
That's not that hard to imagine, because if the airline had like one or two crash pads set up at the same hotel,
oh yeah,
the stewardesses, they fly in, they get their 12 hours of rest, and then they fly out again. And if one stewardess was like, holy shit, this guy down the hall is amazing, it would not be that hard over the course of a week to rack up 33.
Maybe not. And maybe they were all British Airways because they were, like you said, all like crashing in the same hotel.
Well,
yeah, because they set those up. They set those flats up for them, so they could have 4 or 5 rooms of girls coming and going. So,
and that one scene, he wakes up and there's 2 girls in the bed, so that there's probably at least one orgy that happened with that 30-some kid or 30-some girls.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, 2 at a time. Yeah, there you go. That's how you get done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I just wanted to point out
time.
The music. Sure, one way or other, but the song, the Boom Chicka Boom Boom song, really sticks in your freaking head.
Yeah, it does.
And the name of the song is Polk Salad Annie, and that always just gave me a big chuckle when I found that out.
It's called what?
Polk, Polk, as in like a polka, but Polk Salad Annie. It was originally done by Elvis Presley, and someone did it before him. But this was some remake for the actual movie that they recorded. But I always got to chuckle at it because after I heard it, I was like, I cannot get this song out of my head. Polk Salad Annie. There you go.
Well, all right then. Oh boy. Those are 2 really good race movies.
Yeah, these
repeatability. I think Tom's got an interesting point with repeatability. I think you could show people Rush and explain why it's so good, but I think I'd watch Ford versus Ferrari again before I'd watch Rush.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. I feel that way too. It's been on HBO recently, And
Man, it's long though. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's the other
but,
thing.
You know, I'll turn it on and just watch parts of it. Like I'll be doing
Yeah.
something and there's nothing else on TV I want to watch, and I'll just kind of have it on in the background.
Yeah.
I won't necessarily sit down and watch it all the way through.
And I've seen Rush a handful of times, but I've seen Ford v Ferrari more times than that. I've watched it all the way through. I enjoy it. It's a fun movie. Rush is much, I don't know. I watch it and I'm just like, oh, that movie is awesome. But it's Ford v Ferrari is just, maybe it's more, I feel like Ford v Ferrari is more of a buddy film than it is a racing film almost. It just is so quippy and makes me chuckle and I enjoy everything. And Rush is just so you like watch it and you're just in awe the entire time. So maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
No, I think that's a good point. I think the Ford v Ferrari has, so like the movie for us is Aaron Brockovich. It's the movie that my wife and I first noticed that if it's playing, like you're like, oh, I can catch 10 minutes of this. There's lots of funny little scenes in it, and the next thing you know, you're like, fuck, that was 2 hours. Now my fucking afternoon's over, and it just draws you in with one or two of these cute little scenes. The next thing you know, you're like stuck watching it. And I feel like Ford v Ferrari is one of those where you're like, oh, I'll just watch this one race. The next thing you know, it's over. So, but I feel like, I don't know, top to bottom, I think Rush is the better movie overall.
I value your opinion.
They're neck and neck.
Is it a
many
photo
racing
finish?
It's a photo finish.
Hey, Mike, can you
Yeah.
tell us what the scores are, and then we'll vote so they can cross the finish line at the same time?
At the same
Oh God,
Yeah.
that made me so literally made me so mad. I was
Yeah.
like, this fucking slimy little bastard.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, he does such a good job at it though.
He is good at
Yeah.
it. And then I realized he's the voice of the new Home Depot ads too.
He's been the
I know
voice.
that guy's voice.
He's been the voice of the Home Depot ads for years, like
Oh, really? I
5
never
years,
noticed
6
it
years,
until
something
after I
like that.
watched this. That's
I didn't
funny.
know Josh Lucas did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him. But
Josh
now that you
Lucas
say
is
it, I
funny
can
because
hear it.
he was 20 years ago. Josh Lucas was like a young heartthrob thing, and so you get to the end and watch the credits, and I'm like, where the fuck is Josh Lucas in this? I'm like, oh, he's the old guy, and shit, he's my age. Like, oh fuck, looking at 45-year-olds. Shit.
All
God,
right.
we are. Do we all?
You're really breaking up, Tom.
You're breaking
you're
up there,
breaking up.
Tom.
I'm breaking up.
Yeah.
I'm not talking.
Oh.
Tom, we're throwing up the red flag. It sounds like Tom's having an accident.
Yeah, there's been an accident.
Mike is pulling out the checkered flag.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and put it to a vote if you guys are done.
Sometimes they don't get out of the podcast.
Right.
You know what? Sometimes you got to change a couple of things here and there to make it go better.
All right.
You know, every year, 5 people start.
Using magnesium parts.
5 people start the podcast. 2 of them die.
2 of them die.
We're still
Oh my
waiting
God.
for
Are
applications.
we voting?
Would you do a job that you thought there was like a 20% chance you'd die every time you did it?
If it
Probably
meant I
not.
could be
That
with
way.
30 stewardesses in 1 week, yeah,
Week?
maybe.
And,
Yeah,
I
that's a
think there's-
great week. Then your head's fucking taking off next week
Yeah.
by some guardrail
But according
when you were
to
in
the movie,
7th place.
after he has sex, he is the most intense driver, and they've never seen anyone drive like he did on the next day. So 30, imagine the circuit that you could do.
That's true. All right.
Be empty and hollow inside.
Put it to a vote. Tom.
Rush.
All right. And God, I forgot. All right, Gabe.
I'm going to go with Ford v Ferrari.
All right. Kyle.
Yeah, it's a close matchup, and Rush definitely has a lot of good things going for it. But I'm going for Ford v Ferrari.
All righty. Andrew.
Yeah, it's this one was really hard. I thought a lot about this one too. But Ford v Ferrari.
Okie dokie.
Dear Lord in heaven.
He
My
sounds
mic's working now.
even breaking up. He can.
We need to have a caution flag.
Well, We have an angry driver on the road throwing his helmet at people.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
a
the yellow flag is out. Caution, motherfuckers.
Well, you guys are talking about, Kyle asked the question, what kind of person you have to be to, 20% chance of dying. I think it takes a special kind of person to get into a race car and, go top speed and try not to crash, right? Like lap after lap after lap. And I find this interesting. While Lauda Air had some 40 plus planes in their fleet, Nicky Lauda actually piloted a lot of those planes himself during regular flight operation. And before the Ford Motors event to introduce the new Mustang, Shelby pilots a Beech 18 with other Ford executives. Shelby enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps, serving in World War II as a flight instructor and test pilot. He graduated with the rank of staff sergeant pilot. So I think it's just these adrenaline junkies, right? That do this. Back then air travel is not that safe. It's not as reliable, but they do it. And it just gives them that speed. The speed gives them the adrenaline. So I just found that interesting. That they both shared.
I think I would have a hard time just getting into, slipping on the helmet and then squeezing into that little car. I noticed when they were getting into the Formula One cars, they had to squeeze in there.
Well,
and that alone kind of made me mildly claustrophobic.
To be honest.
And then to go 200 miles an hour in there just seems insane.
To be honest, definitely guys my size are not meant to be race car drivers. Even at my
I'd be the
fittest,
shittiest jockey you ever met.
Even at my fittest, I still wouldn't be considered a good, option for a race car driver. They are slender and short. And that's just the way it works.
Well, and you have the Le Mans where they're going 250 miles an hour, but they're in a more stockier car, a car that if it rolled, they have cages and they have a little bit of protection. But you look at an F1 that's going 250 miles an hour, and you roll that car, and you're gonna be embedded in the car.
Have any of you guys been to a race live, like being there?
I've only seen stock cars.
Sprint cars?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I remember taking Kyle to see the sprint cars. I went to
our first date.
It was our first date. We kissed in the mud. I remember going to the inaugural Formula One race at Indy when they had it for 2 years or 3 years. Anyway, went to the first event, and I show up, and of course I'm wearing my racing T-shirt, and I'm all decked. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the races, and I'm walking past people wearing gowns and tuxes, and Formula One is to countries what soccer is, right? You have your team. And Formula One is that way. You have your driver and your racing team, and the whole country is behind you. And it is an event, right? It's not like going, hey, mama, I'm going to NASCAR. It's we're going to watch this race. And, people are, it's like going to the opera for a lot of people.
Well, it's like the Kentucky Derby.
Yes. There you go.
People still dress up. They still wear the big hats.
Yep.
It's a tradition.
And see, I was used to going to sprint car races, right? Where you wear a T-shirt, and if you don't have dirt in your beer, you're not at a real race. And I just witnessed this whole new culture. But I wanted to say that was the last year they were racing V12s in Formula One. And it was the loudest thing I have ever heard next to being near a jet fighter. It is so loud. The pitch and the whine of those engines, they are tuned so high, it actually hurts your ears. It's amazing. And it's amazing how fast those things can go.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So anyway.
250 miles an hour, 9 inches from the ground.
Yes.
Compared to sitting in a car that, you're a foot or more off of the ground, SUVs and stuff like that. You feel like you're going. I mean, think of people that you drive the little sprint cars.
Oh no, we lost Tom.
Uh-oh. The little tiny like go-karts where they have, well, they're not go-karts, but the little racing that they have for people, and they go 20 miles an hour. They're not going very fast, but you're sitting so low to the ground that you feel like you're just flying.
Yes.
Can you imagine 250 miles an hour sitting almost on the ground?
Well, and one thing that I always was amazed by is if you look at the steering wheel for a Formula One car. Now, once again, in America, we've got stock car, Indy car, sprint car, and then everything in between. Stock car, they have a few buttons. Sprint car, there are no buttons. Like it's just, a steering wheel. Formula One, it's like you have an entire cockpit on a steering wheel. That's because they do everything at that steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's
like a video game controller.
Correct. It's just amazing the amount of technology in that. But anyway, I'm taking too long.
I was surprised at how small they were.
Oh yeah.
The steering wheels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a small space.
Yep.
Well, that's true. And they probably
Travel
don't have to
size.
steer a lot in most cases.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
You just
It's
have
not
to
like
make
they're-
gentle turns here and there. But I mean, there are some courses where you are, essentially doing a 180. And so you've got to turn that wheel pretty well.
Yeah, they have hairpin hairpin turns on some of the Formula One stuff, and it's that's kind of rough. I can't imagine driving. I mean, long time ago, and I used to work for Wells Fargo when they started their car and had it up at the racetrack, and we had two options. We could drive the car, or we could sit and let one of the professional drivers drive us around. And I was like, I want someone just to drive us around, because you're going to go way faster than if you're driving yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, I think we went a little over 120 some miles an hour in one of those things. It was insane. I can't imagine going that fast, that close to the ground. Yeah. I mean, that itself was intense.
All right.
Hey, I will tell you, I've noticed, I watched this one movie last night, the other one this afternoon. It did affect my driving. Like, I just ran home from work to have lunch, and I got home really fast.
Did you get in through the sunroof?
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
You had Ride of the Valkyries playing while you were driving at the same time. And
Yeah, Carroll Shelby might be a great driver, but he's an asshole. Don't drive like that, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
He's great. Oh my God. I love
No,
that.
I put some polk salad Annie on, and I got home in 6 minutes. It was great.
All right. Let's move on to recommendations for this month.
are we going to find out who won?
Yeah. After the recommendations, Gabe.
Yeah, don't you know how this works, Andrew?
No, evidently I don't. I'm in a hurry. See?
Well, before we started recording, we were discussing science fiction, space travel type movies. And my recommendation this month is a new one on Netflix called The Midnight Sky, which is directed by George Clooney. And I'd like to hear what you guys were talking about, like your kind of science fiction, and like it sounded like many of you enjoyed more realistic science fiction. And if you guys have a chance to see this, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it and how it fits into your idea of good science fiction. It's something that when I saw the previews on TV, it's something that I wanted to see. I like George Clooney. It seemed like something interesting to me. The performances are good. George Clooney is good. The cinematography is very nice. I think I read some reviews online, and a lot of people were complaining about how maybe scientifically it wasn't very accurate. But I don't think that was necessarily the point. They didn't focus too much on that. It was more about these characters and their relationships to each other and that kind of thing. And it's a post-apocalyptic thing where the Earth is essentially, it's been destroyed by humans and it's dying, and they're evacuating. They're trying to find a new place to live, and someone gets left behind, and there's some others coming back that need to be warned about the condition of the Earth. And I enjoyed it. I found it very interesting, and I would like to hear some of your guys' thoughts on it if you get a chance to see it.
It's really good.
All right. Thank you, Gabe. Kyle?
All right, I'm going to actually recommend something based on an actor in one of these films. That's Daniel Bruhl, and it's the second part of The Alienist, which is called Angel of Darkness, and it's a TV show that was just on, I believe, TNT. And it stars Daniel Bruhl and Dakota Fanning and Luke Evans, and Daniel Bruhl plays the titular alienist, Dr. Laszlo Kreisler. And he is phenomenal in this role. I don't know if you guys have seen The Alienist before, but it's based on a pair of books by Caleb Carr, one of which I read many years ago. But it's about the forefront of psychology becoming a recognized, legitimate, scholastic enterprise, and about how he uses his training in psychiatry and psychology to track down killers. So I wouldn't call it like a ye olde CSI, but it's really, really interesting. Everything is very period accurate. It's filmed on a giant set in Turkey, and it looks just like old-timey downtown New York City. It's really great. So they just did the second season, which is based on the second book, Angel of Darkness, and I think you should check it out if you're into that sort of old-timey period drama.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. Andrew?
Well, I was thinking about doing something science fiction because we were talking about it, but we did a race movie off, so I kind of felt like I should probably do a race movie. So I'm going to do one from my childhood that I've always found was humorous. It brings back some nostalgia when you watch it now. It's kind of goofy. I don't know. It's one of those movies that you're just like, okay. But Buddy Hackett's in it. It's hilarious. It's a race movie where they go to the El Dorado, it's a parody of the Baja 1000 race in Mexico. And that's The Love Bug. And it's an old Disney movie, but man, is it great. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's goofy. It's got some great old actors in it that were just fantastic comedians. And, the Volkswagen Beetle that everyone did the Love Bug from, this is where it started. So my recommendation, if you haven't seen it, The Love Bug from 1968.
Great. Now I have the song stuck in my head. Damn it. The second you said Buddy Hackett, the song started up.
Yep.
Tom.
Okay, so I'm taking a total left turn here. There's nothing related to either of these movies, but Kino Lorber, who is kind of like a Criterion Collection competitor, they kind of restore old films. And I am recommending that everybody check out the 80s comedy classic, Amazon Women on the Moon. Kino Lorber just did a new Blu-ray release. It's got, I'm not kidding, it's got commentary from film historians. Joe Dante dug into his personal archives and found a bunch of dailies and outtakes and stuff that people have never seen ever before for this release. It's really cheap too. It's like It's $18 right now. I bought one for all of my brothers and my dad for Christmas. It is absolutely hysterical. So it's like a series of sketches. You're supposed to be watching late night TV.
Yep.
And this poor TV station's trying to show Amazon Women on the Moon without a commercial interruption, but the video keeps flaming out, so they got to cut to these horrible commercials and promos and stuff. And it's so absolutely hysterical. And it's got tons of people in it. Michelle Pfeiffer is in it, and Arsenio Hall is in it, and Carrie Fisher. I mean, it's absolutely it's wonderful. It's really funny.
Ooh, that might be a good
Yeah.
one to put up
Phil
against Kentucky
Hartman.
Fried Movie.
My wife, it's kind of like Kentucky Fried Movie. It is, and my wife loves it. She thinks it's hysterical because I gave it to all my brothers and they presented it to their wives and were like, "Hey, we're watching this tonight," and they were like, "We're not watching a porno tonight." And and Lisa's like, "What are they talking about? This movie's genius." I'm like, "Right."
Yeah.
So,
Carrie Fisher's in it.
yeah.
Can I buy it on Amazon?
Amazon has the Kino Lorber. Just make sure you get the new Kino Lorber release that came out in the last month or so. There's another Blu-ray release that isn't nearly as good. You don't get all the cool extras, and it's so goofy and fun. And
I remember watching. That movie.
just the opening sketch with Arsenio Hall is worth the purchase.
Oh my god, I haven't seen this movie in years.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I gotta go back now.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
All right. Well, my recommendation is, well, actually, I'm going to ask you guys, what movie has John C. Reilly in it, Fred Thompson, Michael Rooker, Cary Elwes, Randy Quaid, Robert Duvall? You guys have any guesses yet?
No.
Princess Bride.
Nicole
I only
It
heard
came
one
to
of
my
the names.
head for some reason, but I don't think because of Carrie Elwes. I think.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman,
Wreck-It Ralph.
Tom Cruise.
I'm only doing this based on one name. I'm not going to get this.
Far and away.
Close. It's from 1990, directed by Tony Scott, and it was, I believe, one of my first DVDs ever, and it's Days of Thunder.
Days of.
Oh.
You didn't say Tom Cruise, you prick.
Yes, I did.
You did.
Yeah.
You did?
Yes.
The end.
I'm,
Right after
I'm
Nicole
really half
Kidman.
listening at this point. I usually shut off at 10 o'clock. So.
It is, what else can I say? It's Top Gun on four wheels. It's a whole lot of fun. Robert Duvall makes the movie for me. You know, Rubbin's racing.
He's another one of those charismatic.
Yes, he is.
He's just magnetic on the screen.
I
really liked it.
You know, and not Steve Winwood, but I can't remember his band, but Give Me Some Lovin' is part of this montage bit, and I used to watch that over and over and over. I want you to go out and hit the pace car. Why do you want me to hit the pace car? I want you to be perfect. It's fantastic. If you guys get a chance, watch it. It is 90s everything in this movie, and it's fantastic.
And it really does have that Tony Scott style.
Oh my God. This is where I think I fell in love with Tony Scott's directing style, right? Like he just had this way with all these camera angles and the cuts and everything. I love it. So check out Days of Thunder. It's a great retro watch for sure.
Fun.
All right, let's find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Ford versus Ferrari.
You guys are dicks.
Yeah, it came in second. That's really good. You still got points for that.
But if you ain't first, you're last.
Oh, no. Rush started further back, so Rush won.
Oh, no. It's because it's older.
Yeah, there you go.
It's an older movie. Stupid Tommy McLaren.
All right. Where can people find you? Maybe street race you. Tom.
People can generally find me laying in bed vacuuming out my lungs.
Oh, God.
I wasn't gonna do that, but then Mike made such a big fucking deal about it.
Oh my god, that was
an afternoon project.
That's
I'm gonna
still.
push them.
I still can't watch that, man. Andrew,
shop vac.
Yeah. What do you got planned this afternoon? I gotta vacuum out my lungs and dust my thighs.
He's a rotor-rooter. Just bring it down in there. We'll just get it.
Yeah. Facebook and Twitter. I don't know. I may be on there. I may not. I don't know. Instagram sounds like fun.
just take pictures of random things.
You won't find me on Parler though, so I'm not fucking crazy.
True that. Andrew.
Wow, I'm next. I guess about the only place anymore. Just go out to ArizonaInkStudios.com. If you want to go to any of our social media or anything, it's all there. But most of our stuff is out there. Updates, links to this podcast. So Arizona Ink, INK Studios.com.
Kyle.
Oh, brother, the more Gabe talks about it, the less I want to be on social media. But you can find me at Tyrannosaurus Sex and at Jerksitter. I am still taking appointments for either of those. But you're going to have some hard currency. And if you'd like to street race me, you want a piece of my Hyundai Tucson, you can get it, ass master, because I will leave you in my dirt.
Gabe.
You can find me on TikTok and Snapchat.
I would love to see Gabe on TikTok.
I've got his OnlyFans
pretty
page
sexy
if you
dance
want it.
routines.
Gabe is the
you can find me
inspiration
on,
for the movie Cuties.
Yeah. You can find me on Snapchat, and if you're really interested, you can look me up on OnlyFans.
Whoa! I'd pay $1 for that.
$1? I'm in.
That gets you a lifetime membership, Kyle.
Woo!
Holy shit!
Yeah, I know. It's bargain of the year, really.
I'll be up to my neck
I decided
in
to
your
make
balls.
2021, more appealing to people, and try. I know people have fallen on hard times in 2020, and so
just search Palomino penis. That's how I found him. I said just search Palomino penis. Isn't that your OnlyFans page?
That's a horse dick, Mike. Jesus Christ!
I'm typing that in right now.
And I guess if you really
just
want
pictures
to,
of horse dick.
yep.
Okay. What did I expect?
You could go to Facebook, I guess, and you can find our films on onegenomeshort.com.
All right. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For February, we get romantic as La La Land takes on the Umbrellas of Cherbourg to see who will win our affection. For Kyle, Gabe, Tom, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Yeah, go on, Mr. Ford. Hop on in. Go on. You want me to... Just see what $9 million feels like. Just hold me right there, and you take my hand. Oh, God. Sat on my nuts. We're going to build the next one for comfort, don't you worry. You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready, Shelby. Hit it. Attaboy. Oh, that's got a little kick. Got it. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
About right now, the uninitiated have a tendency to soil themselves.
Nope.
Nope. Not happy.
I did not. It's not Happy Holidays anymore.
No.
All right, here we go. I still had Happy Holidays on there, and I just looked at it and started saying it.
Hello, fuckers.
Ron Burgundy
Hey,
will
fuck
read
nuts.
anything you put in the teleprompter. Go fuck yourself, San Diego. You're a native Frenchman, right, Mike?
Dude, just Shoreberg, dude. I swear to God.
Shoreberg.
I was sitting here going, I was like waiting for it, going, oh, he's going to fuck it up. He's going to fuck it up.
He's going to fuck it up?
You're going to keep your job.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.